electricity in Gaza. The last operational power plant in Gaza today stopped working because it has run out of fuel. The Palestinian Health Ministry is saying that there are only enough fuel for generators, which is being used to power hospitals and essential services. Imagine ICUs, which are already overflowing with patients, now running out of power. And this is only day 5 of this war. Within a matter of days, Gaza will be in a total blackout. Over 3,600 people have lost their lives so far. We don't have the exact number of missing persons and those who have been held hostage. Many families have lost everything, including hope. US has sent multiple military ships and aircraft closer to Israel as a show of support. All these pointing towards a prolonged war with no solution in sight. On the show tonight, we'll get you faces, because it's important to tell the human cost of this Israel-Gaza war. Joining me first on the show is Yoav Shimoni. Yoav's grandmother was killed in Hamas attack. Yoav, my condolences to you and your entire family. Give us details. When did you come to know about your grandmother's death?
So it started when the missile barrage started raining onto Israel, and I was messaging my family in the group chats to make sure everyone are safe, everyone are in the shelters, that they are all fine. And then after reaffirming everyone's safety and my grandmother being more concerned about our family than her own, not 10 minutes later, my sister mentioned in our group chat that my grandma posted something on her Facebook. At that moment, I turned to Facebook and saw the nightmare that it was my grandmother, a video of my grandmother lying on her kitchen floor, living room floor, with blood surrounding her, her hands clenched on her chest, and men with guns surrounding her. This at first I didn't know what to believe. I didn't want to believe that that video is real. Because at that point Israel and the news media has still not confirmed that there was a land infiltration from Gaza. And so I was still in disbelief. And then when the news came out that it was an infiltration and there was more developments, we got to learn more and more horrific details, like the fact that not only her house, but her entire community, where my mother, my aunt, and I grew up in, has been burned to the ground. And not only that, the neighbors, the stories of her neighbors that were kidnapped, murdered at their homes, same as my grandmother, the little children, heads beheaded, elderly women being taken and raped in Gaza. It's just the flow of horrific stories that have been going through the last few days have just amplified the trauma and and all of the bad things that my family's had to go through in the last few days.
And I have no words to say except this, that this is heartbreaking, and we are showing those visuals of happy times that you have shared, the family shared with your grandmother. When was the last time you spoke to her, and what did she tell you?
I messaged her just before it happened, and she was she was always very optimistic. She always said, because for the past 15 years, for the past almost 20 years, every time there was a missile attack, she would always be optimistic. She would say, "Hey, I'm fine. I'm in the shelter. Don't worry about me. How are you guys? Are you safe? Are you okay?" And again, that echoed up until her last message. And I was lucky enough to see her in person 2 weeks ago for Jewish New Year. And even back then, I think maybe it was a bit ignorant, but we all felt super safe. I slept in the kibbutz where everyone has now been killed, kidnapped, or well, something else. And I don't know, it just, we had a sense of safety that I guess was a facade.
And you have, what were her last words to her family?
I can pull up the exact message. I'm sorry. It was her confirming her safety, like my mom's and my aunt's safety. If we were to give you the exact words, it was, she was asking my aunt, her name's Shachar. Shachar, are you okay? There's bombs all over the place. The IDF is also attacking the strip. And then and that was the last message. That was her from here. Less than 10 minutes after that message was sent, we saw the video of her murder.
Yoav, I certainly hope your family gets strength post this tragedy. It has hit you very close and very personal. Stay strong, and thank you for speaking to NDTV. We are being joined by Israel-Gaza. He is the brother of missing Shani Gaza. Ariel, I want to know about Shani. Is it confirmed that she is missing? And did you speak to the police? What did they tell you? What are the cops saying? What are the administration saying there?
The government is currently not giving us any answers or information or something like this about my sister or about all the other people or which missing. Shani, my sister, my younger sister, worked at the party and was under attack by Hamas. The last time we were able to talk with her was on Saturday at 9 a.m. when she said that she was hiding in some building and there is a lot of bombs and a lot of terrorist people around her. She told us that she suffering from a gunshot wound to the leg, and some people trying to help her, and
I have no words except this, Ariel-Gaza, that what about the rest of the family? How are they taking this? You know, you don't have information about your sister, her well-being.
Yeah.
When did you all last speak to her, and what did she tell you?
In Saturday. We talked with her in Saturday, 9 a.m., 9 in the morning. She told us that she injured by the gunshot in her leg and she trying to escape. But then we don't connect with her again, and we don't know what happened to her.
So she.
My dad is still in the area, in the party area, still searching her, making himself in a really dangerous place to be right now because there is a lot of terrorist people right there right now.
And so you spoke to her and she said that she has been shot in her leg.
Yes.
And
exactly.
Did she have her friends with her? Did you manage to speak to her friends?
Yes. She has many friends who were at the party. Some managed to be saved, some were injured, some murdered, and unfortunately, some, like my sister, are still missing. We have two really good friends, which each one of them lost his leg, each one leg. They are in a very difficult situation. We don't know what to do. Tell you the truth. Hamas has committed many war crimes. Babies, children, women, old people have been brutally murdered. They cut the head of a lot of babies, and I don't know what to say more.
Avia, we certainly understand your pain, and we hope that your sister is safe and you're able to meet her soon. Thank you for speaking to NDTV. We are now being joined by Leila El-Haddad. She is a Palestinian journalist. Her family is in Gaza. Leila, how's your family in Gaza? Because reports that are coming in is that there is going to be a total siege very soon.
That's right. A siege upon a siege, right? Because, as you know, Gaza has been subject to some form of closure or blockade ever since the imposition of the Oslo Accords in the early 90s. And it became even tighter following the elections, following the so-called disengagement in 2005. And so it's sort of a blockade upon a blockade, even more stringent measures. We're not sleeping here on our end, where we've created different WhatsApp groups for each side of my family, my father's family and my mother's family. My father's family, they're all in central Gaza in the city. My mother's family is all in the south, and they've each decided to try to stay in one location, in one house. So they all relocated because, the thinking is, if we die, let's die together. They're very worried. They've been through previous Israeli assaults, but, unlike anywhere else in Israel, there are no bomb shelters, there are no sirens, there's nowhere to run or hide. Netanyahu said something in the beginning like, let them leave their houses and go to fields and to the sea. Where are people supposed to go? There's even a naval blockade, right? And so there's these images of people leaving one house to another that might be more safe, and so on and so forth. Our entire neighborhood of Rimal, which you might have heard about in the news, it was the commercial hub of Gaza City. The central part of the city was completely flattened, leveled to the ground. And I think I had an image that I shared about what that looked like. For what reason is this happening? This is collective punishment. My cousin that you just saw there, he has a twin babies. And I just spoke with him shortly, and he said, the concern is they're not even able to leave their houses safely. They can't get formula for their children. They've run out of diapers. They're getting 3 hours of electricity every 30 hours. And so they're using that to charge their power bank so they can use their phones. But otherwise, the power is completely out. And you might have heard, as of this morning, the power, of course, fuels the water pumps. And so they've also lost water completely now. And so even if they did have formula, they couldn't, use that to feed their children. And so, again, this is just collective punishment upon collective punishment of a, captive population of 2.2 million people that have done nothing to deserve this kind of pounding. And, they're terrified. They don't know what's happening around them. They're just hearing F-16s dropping, multi-ton bombs upon them all over the place, and carnage and wreckage, and people have nowhere to run or hide.
And Leila, is there an attempt by your family to escape? The only border, of course, that is open is with Egypt. Is there a sense that of total, submission, that it is about death, only awaiting death, perhaps in matter of few days? Or is there an attempt to run away to some safe area? Is there an area which is safe? I want to understand that from you.
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked that question. A refrain that you hear over and over again in Gaza, not just in this brutal assault, but in all the other ones, is there is no safe place in Gaza. There are no bomb shelters. The only place that some people have been able to go to that can afford is some of, like, for example, the any members of international organizations or journalists or so on, is some hotels, for example, but that's for a slim, a minuscule percentage of the population. But there is no safe, and there's no escape. It's very important to point out here that unlike any other conflict, so-called conflict, this is a war, this is an occupation, that viewers might know about or have seen, Palestinians do not have access to their borders. And this is actually underpins the context, the greater context of the problem, right? We don't have access to our borders. Even in times of so-called, calm, we can't just go up to a border and say, be it the one with Egypt or the one in the north with Israel and say, I'd like to leave today. I have a conference I want to attend or university or whatnot. The only operational crossing that used to exist or be functional was the Rafah crossing with Egypt. And even that, a small percentage of Palestinians could use, and with months of coordination and excessive fees up to $1,000 per person, and on and on. So it's not like a normal border crossing. Yesterday, my uncle tried to use that crossing to leave because his permanent residence is actually in Jordan, and he was visiting Gaza. And while he was there, they received an order that the border was about to be bombed, and so they left. And sure enough, about 25 minutes later, the crossing was bombed. And so they're not letting, even if those who are able, and the vast majority are not able, they don't have the correct documents or whatever, Egypt won't let them out, and Israel won't let anyone out. Maybe they allow out 1% in the north. Those who are able to leave can't because the crossing was bombed. And so no, people have nowhere to go except, to each other's homes or to the streets. Some people have gone to UN schools to take shelter as well.
All right, Leila. We hope that your family is safe and they remain safe in Gaza. Thank you so much for sharing your story. We are being joined by Tal Hartoz. He is an Israeli survivor of she is an Israeli survivor of 2010 Hamas attack. Tal, it's heartbreaking to see what's happening on both the sides because, we are seeing the humanitarian crisis unfold.
I didn't actually hear your last sentence. I do apologize.
We are seeing a humanitarian crisis because it is the human cost of this war which we are discussing right now.
Yes, of course. I mean, the humanitarian crisis of the hostages from all over the world being held by these barbarians is beyond belief. And the butchery of Jewish people just for being Jews, where their corpses are still strewn out all over the land of Israel. We're in total shock about this. So it's definitely a humanitarian crisis, which, excuse me, which is an interesting word of choice, because I heard your previous lady, the Palestinian lady, speaking about saying that Gaza doesn't have this and this and this. And, there was a World Relief Fund set up for Palestinian refugees called UNRWA. And they've been the recipient of billions of dollars, and they've been there for years. And I have to ask, what have they been doing with their money? Where has all their money gone? Why hasn't these innocent civilians, Palestinian civilians, been equipped with the basic human dignity that they need? Why would that be? I mean, that's really is a humanitarian crisis. And I think shame on UNRWA, absolutely shame on UNRWA. Just as a side note, I don't know what access this Palestinian lady has to the news, but we didn't start this. If I can just remind your viewers that it was on a Shabbat morning, our holy day, where these savages broke into villages, all right, and they murdered women and children. Now, I'm not quite sure what people expect, how people expect Israel to respond. I'd like to think it through with you. And I've already heard of that there are, how do you say, there's a phrase in English called whataboutism. And it's almost like when you give people a platform who will accuse Israel for these atrocities instead of actually doing soul checking themselves, something a bit morally askewed by giving people this a platform. I mean, I've even heard in the last few days, like, when you have babies beheaded, they beheaded 40 of our babies, and then people will say, well, what about the violation of human rights in Gaza? What about that we don't have hospitals? So what we're really saying, right, is, oh, that's why babies were beheaded. I don't buy it. And let me tell you this with all due respect, okay? I was held hostage by machete-wielding Palestinian terrorists, okay, who murdered my Christian friend in front of my eyes because they thought she was Jewish. They stabbed me 13 times. They broke 40 bones. They shouted Allahu Akbar. and Ikhbahu al-Yahud, and that lady will understand what that means. God, Allah is great, and slaughter the Jews. They did not mention Palestine. And I'm telling you something else, if I may. I would be very happy to send some footage taken by the Israeli police when they take these people back to the scene of the crime. And they say, the interview, it's not actors, it's the real murderers. They say this, why did you choose this place? He answers, we wanted to kill. Kill who? Kill Jews. Why? No reason. I'm happy to send you that. And so what we're talking about, we're not talking about a conflict about land. We are talking about, since the 7th century, pogroms and butcherings committed by radical Islamists on both Christian communities and Jewish communities. And yes, it's an Israeli Muslim surgeon who saved my life. I'll tell you another thing. I can understand how frustrating it must be for people in Gaza. I get that because I myself was frustrated. I saw my friend murdered. That's kind of frustrating. I lost my health. I lost the dignity to provide for myself. I lost all my possessions because I couldn't provide for myself. I lost my self-respect for just having a normal kind of life and always needing help. I lost routine. I lost sleep. I lost the engaging with the mundane, and I am frustrated. I hope you can understand that. But the difference between me and these people claiming perpetual victimhood instead of taking responsibility, the difference is this. I did not take out my frustrations by pouncing on innocent Palestinians, tying them up and hacking them to death. On the contrary, I work with a Palestinian Muslim in a refugee camp. We work together. I use my own resources. Why? In order that we can teach children, help Palestinian children learn English and computer skills to equip them for life. So these filthy, heinous monsters of human beings will not take children, Palestinian children,
Absolutely.
and groom them for their death.
Thank you so much for sharing your story, Tal Hartouz, there,
My
survivor
privilege.
of
Just spread it
2010
around.
Hamas attack. And before we go, we track the trail of destruction in Gaza in this ground report. Remember, this is just day 5 in this Israel-Gaza war. Thanks so much for watching.
الولد اختفى بايدي يا معلم. الولاد وين؟ هذا يطمني يا معلم. بكفي يا عالم. بكفي طلب. احنا ناس غلابة. اقسم والأولاد ماتوا بدون ما ياكلوا. يشهد علي الله. الأولاد ماتوا بدون ما ياكلوا.
A Palestinian mother mourning the death of a 4-year-old killed in Israeli airstrikes in Gaza. Large areas of Gaza flattened, homes reduced to rubble. The vicious cycle, air hits followed by bodies being pulled out from under the debris. The worst hit are innocent children. A father hugging his dead child, calling out to doctors, pleading with them to breathe life into him. Newborns being pulled out of debris amidst the devastation. Thursday afternoon, a residential area in Gaza bombed. A father running towards the hospital, cradling his injured child. This is the story of hundreds of families in Gaza. A mother mourning her child. Her question to Israel, why kill my sons? They weren't associated with Hamas. Gaza's Al-Rimal city, once a bustling town, now a pile of dust. 60-year-old Riyad Shaban had a house in this building. All that's left in this pile of rubble. He says that the residents were ordered to immediately vacate the building at 2 a.m. on Tuesday. And on returning, destruction is all they found. Heeding Israel's warning and left with no option, people are heading to refugee camps. But even there, the situation isn't much different. The camps are as unsafe as their homes. The Jabalia refugee camp was bombed on day 3 of Israel's retaliation. Palestinian authorities say 155 innocents were killed in the attack. Israel claims it is only targeting terrorist hideouts. then why are refugee camps in the line of fire? Many journalists like Mohammed Shub and Sayed Al-Tawil have also been killed. So far, the toll stands at 6. The horrors of Gaza don't end there. Palestinian authorities allege that Israel is using banned white phosphorus bombs. They burn through the flesh, even melting down bones. 22,639 residential areas bombed, 10 hospitals and 48 schools destroyed. The Gaza siege is nearly complete. This even before Israel boots hit the ground. No power, water, food or medicine supplies. Gaza's only power plant shut down. And it's just day 5 of the Israel-Gaza war. With Saurabh Shukla, Bureau Report, NDTV.